All right, welcome back to our second module as we talk about context. And really, we're going to talk about three major contexts for you. That's campus, city, and church. So, depending on the makeup of your ministry, campus can have a big part in it or not, depending on the percentages of college or young adults that you're ministering to. But campus is important because we want to know what the campus is like, because that's going to tell us a lot about the students that we're going to minister to. So when you look at a campus, it's great to begin to ask the questions. Is this a 4-year school? Is it a 2-year school? What are the major degrees that students are getting here? Does it have residential population, or is it a commuter school? If there's residential population, there's a lot of ministry that can be done on campus, whereas in a commuter school, most of those students are coming and then they're leaving, and so you're going to have to go find them in the city and not as much as on campus. It's really important to know that. To go through and just figure out what are those little oddities about the campus, and that will also give you a really great understanding and perspective on what a successful ministry will look like with that campus. So, for instance, in my church, there is a major 4-year university nearby, 10,000 students, ton of residential population. Students live very close to campus, and they're all over campus. So it's fish in a barrel. I mean, they're all right there, centrally located on campus. So there's some things that you can do on campus. There's, you can frequent the shops all around campus because students are just all right there. So that makes creating, some intersecting with students a lot easier because you know where they're at. Whereas a 2-year school, that's not going to be the case. Those students are coming in and they're going all over the place. And then when we get into city here in just a second, we'll talk a little bit more about that. But those things are very helpful. And so it's good to know what is that campus like. What are the ministries that are already going on there? For instance, it would be helpful for you to do a survey to figure out, hey, what churches are already doing ministry here? Try to connect with those churches, see what they've learned, see what they're doing. Try to be a friend and not a competitor. Figure out if there are campus organizations, campus ministry organizations happening on campus. Who are they? What are they about? How long have they been around? And try to get to know them as well. So as you're getting to know that landscape, that'll really help you form an understanding of your campus and the students. Here are some things that I recommend that you do is think about, go to the school's website and figure out what the school's about. What's the demographic of student? What's the economic background of students? What's the ethnicity of the students? All those things are going to be helpful for you to understand the target audience of that campus. I would also really encourage you to begin to prayer walk that campus. Make a rhythm of maybe once or twice a week, however often you can, depends on how close it is to you, but at least try once a week to go and just spend 30 minutes and just prayer walk that campus. That prayer walk it'll knit your heart to that campus, but it helps you feel and see the rhythm of the campus and see the students that are coming, the faculty that are present, all of those things. That is huge. Begin to prayer walk that campus. Another thing is meet administrators, meet faculty, get to know them, take them to lunch, take them to a coffee, and just get to know who they are and who are some of these major decision makers, and see if you can get to know them, to ask them questions about their campus. And even this could provide open doors for you, is to say, hey, we have a ministry that we love students, and we would love to minister to students at this campus, but we also want to bless just this campus in general. So what are ways our church or ministry can partner with the school that would be a benefit to the school? Like, we're not asking for anything, we're wanting to give ourselves for the betterment of the school. And you'd be surprised at the doors that could open there. Another thing is just meet students there, and then also get to know those ministries that are involved there as well. So that'll really help you give you an understanding of the campus. All right, moving on to city. So thinking about city, if you're ministering to a commuter school, your students are going to be embedded in a city. Or if you're ministering to young adults, students are going to be embedded in a city. And so learn as much as you can about the city you're in. How was it founded? What are the main industries? What are the places where young people are congregating? Where are young people getting jobs? All those kind of things are going to help you, give you a framework of your city and know where young people are either living or where they're working, where their hobbies are at. All those kind of things will be really helpful for you. And I've often found that one of the most successful things is figuring out where young people work. If they're at restaurants, or if they're working in a coffee shop, or if young people are working in public places, those are great places for you to begin to intersect and to begin to meet those young people, those young adults that could be potential come to faith in Christ and be a part of your ministry. So keep that in mind. So, and think about as you're looking through your city, figure out like what are the needs. That's a great way for your ministry to start meeting the needs of the city. Figuring out like what are like the idols in a city. You also think about that with campus as well, because idols is what people love. It's what they go to. So that is a place for you to figure out where young people are gathering. And then just figure out like, hey, are there any other ministries in the city that are really reaching this demographic well, and become their friend and ask great questions and figure out how you can support them. That would be a great way for you to gain an understanding of where students are at, what they're doing, where they're working, and start intersecting in those places. And so that's city. The last thing is church. So when you think about church, a couple things here is really the two questions is what are your supervisor's expectations, and what's the history this ministry has with the church? So let's start with supervisor. What I would hate for you to get yourself into is for you to jump into this ministry and you have an expectation or an understanding of success that differs from your supervisor. Because what that means is that you feel like you could win and do this successfully, but your supervisor would say, hey, that's not exactly what we were looking for. I don't want that to happen. You don't want that to happen. Your supervisor doesn't want that to happen. So it's very important for you to get clear expectations from your supervisor. So I would encourage you, if you haven't done this already, is I would call a meeting with your supervisor and just say, hey, if let's just say, hey, a year down the road, what would you love to see this ministry look like? Would it be students on Sunday mornings? Would it be a midweek? Would it be people coming to faith or baptized? Just figure out for your supervisor, what is that win for them? Let me give you just a brief example, two of them. One, I was meeting with a church that was looking at me being their college pastor. As I was meeting with them, I was asking them these questions. What are your expectations? What do you want? And it's like, hey, well, just whatever you want, man. Just whatever works. You know, you do your model, and we just want to reach students. I'm like, okay, well, that sounds good, but sometimes you never know if that's really what they mean. And so we kept talking, and then over time, just through conversation, finally, the guy that would have been my supervisor was like, you know, there's this, he's talking about this big ministry in Dallas, young adult ministry. He's like, that would be really cool if we get something like that down here. Well, here's what that told me. He may have not want to put that expectation on me, but in the back of his head, that's what he really wants. And so that was really great for me to have an understanding of like, okay, his expectation is he's going to want a large midweek gathering. That's where he wants to see this thing eventually go. And that helped me determine, one, did I really want to do this? And if I am doing this, okay, that's what I need to start building to, because that's what is going to appease the powers that be and the supervisor that I have. And you could do that in a God-honoring way and make disciples. But it's good to know that rather than, you know, what if you to come back in a year and you're like, oh, I've got all these missional communities, they're out in the neighborhoods, but your supervisor can never see them. He may have a hard time with that. So, or she. So it just depends. So you just want to get their expectation. What is it that you need from, that you expect of this ministry? What does a win look like? And the second thing is this, is what's this ministry's history with the church? So it is very important. Ask about the history from your supervisor. Figure out who are the adult leaders or some of the people that have been involved in this ministry maybe in the past, and talk to them. Say, hey, what's been done here? Has anything been done? Here's a couple of great questions to ask. Hey, when this was done before, what did you love about it? That's going to help you tell you people what people are passionate about, what they really like about the ministry. Another question to ask is, what did you not like about it? What did you not like about the last leader and how the way that he or she led? Those are great questions to ask to figure out, so you can kind of figure out, hey, where are the landmines here, or where are the places that I need to kind of watch out for because there's a history. So, I mean, for instance, you may, you know, you never know. You may say, hey, we want to create missional communities. We're going to put these in homes and embed them in dorms and all this kind of thing. And 5 years ago, there could have been a college minister that did that and then all of a sudden planted a church and took everybody with them, and the church just still feels hurt. Now, that doesn't mean that that model is wrong. It just means that the church has a bad history with it, because that's what they're reminded of. They remember, oh, that person took people, away when they, left or whatever. So it's just important for you to know that history, just so as you're leading and growing this ministry, you can navigate that properly. So those are the three contexts. You need to understand your campus, understand your city, and understand your church, and that will help build a framework for you to do successful ministry.